Now back to today's story. Family, friends, and a community all gathering to remember fallen hero master Deputy Bradley Link. He was killed in the line of duty just 1 week ago, all responding to a call. Fox 35's Matt Trezza is live outside the funeral home in Lake County.
Good morning. Welcome to Fox 35 News. I'm Keith Landry. We're coming up on 8 o'clock on the East Coast and 5 o'clock on the West Coast. And this morning we are beginning with a sad story in Central Florida. The funeral north of Orlando for a slain deputy killed last Friday night in action while responding to a call. 28-year-old Master Deputy Bradley Link was ambushed inside a house, shot multiple times in Eustis, Florida, north of Orlando. Our colleagues at Fox 35 News in Orlando are having team coverage of this story ahead of the funeral at 11 this morning. Let's listen into what they're saying.
Now back to today's story. Family, friends, and a community all gathering to remember fallen hero master Deputy Bradley Link. He was killed in the line of duty just 1 week ago, all responding to a call. Fox 35's Matt Trezza is live outside the funeral home in Lake County early this morning. Matt, good morning. A sad day for people in that community, and a procession's going to begin there in just a few hours.
Yeah, that's right. So we're at the funeral home in Claremont, where the procession is set to start at around 9:30 this morning. It should be at the church for the memorial service about 30 minutes later, together with family and more than 100 law enforcement motorcycles along with it escorting it. Master Deputy Bradley Link was just 28 years old and started as a young explorer in high school before joining the sheriff's office in 2019. He responded to a disturbance call in Eustis last Friday. When deputies entered the home, they were met with a hail of gunfire. Link was shot and trapped inside the house. He was later rushed to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead. 2 more deputies were also shot during that ambush in Eustis and were sent to HCA Florida Lake Monroe Hospital for treatment. First responders across Central Florida are left dealing with the loss.
This event, I need to say, is unlike other traumatic events. This is, law enforcement is a family, and so this is losing one of one's brothers or sisters. So this is something that is very critical for us to be part of.
The governor has ordered flags here in Claremont to be flown at half staff in honor of Master Deputy Link, and we're going to have our special coverage of the procession and the memorial service starting at 10 a.m. We're live in Claremont. Matt Trezza, Fox 35 News.
All right, Matt, thank you so much. You know, we have covered every angle of this deadly ambush. Fox 35's Garrett Weimer now breaking down the timeline of what happened on that tragic night.
Last Friday evening at 7:45, Lake County deputies received a call claiming the suspect, Julie Solpizio, was assaulting her neighbors. Deputies arrived shortly after and talked with the suspect and her neighbors. They became concerned for the suspect's husband, who was in their home with their 2 daughters. At 8:10, deputies heard 4 loud bangs coming from the suspect's home. They saw a screen missing and believed a crime was underway. At 9:03, Deputy Link and Deputy Howell and others make an announcement and enter through a back door into the laundry room leading to a hallway. When Deputy Link enters the hallway, he's shot multiple times in the back. Deputy Howell shot in the wrist. He's able to retreat from the home, but Deputy Link remains inside. According to his body-worn camera, Deputy Link attempts to crawl, but can't. Deputies call out his name on the radio. He attempts to answer, but was unsuccessful. He appears to be shot more times. At 9:26, the SWAT team arrives on scene to get Deputy Link out of the house. Deputy Gargano and others enter the house. Gargano shot multiple times through the wall, taken to the hospital in critical condition. At 11:02, Deputy Link is pulled from the house and taken to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead.
Very sad story, and live now from Fox, we'll have full, live, unedited coverage of Deputy Link's funeral from Claremont, Florida, northwest of Orlando, starting at 11 a.m. You'll be able to see that live here this morning, here on Live Now from Fox. Switching gears, another big story this morning. We are taking you to Israel. This is the Gaza Strip right here. Let's take a look live at it. And there it is, a live look at the Israeli border with the Gaza Strip. We have breaking news this morning out of Israel, a major airstrike by Israeli forces Let's give you some details on that now. An Israeli airstrike hit a school-turned-shelter in Gaza early this morning. Sources say it killed about 80 people. Palestinian health authorities say it's one of the deadliest strikes in the 10-month-old war between Israel and Hamas. But it's important to note that Israeli officials say that this was a Hamas command center being operated within the school in order to plan attacks against Israeli citizens. The strike on the Tabin school in central Gaza wounded about 47 people. The facility, like almost all of Gaza's schools, has been used as a shelter for people fleeing their homes during the war. But again, the Israeli government making it clear that they are saying this was a Hamas command center that was being used to plan attacks against Israeli citizens. So we'll continue to follow that story for you this morning right here on Live Now from Fox as we take a live look out at the border. The sun is shining. Things are quiet now, but Israel is definitely preparing for a retaliatory strike from Iran after the assassination of Hamas's top political leader. So we're going to keep you posted on that, and we will continue to cover that throughout the day this morning here on Live Now from Fox. It is 8:03. We are switching gears, talking about politics, the presidential race. Former President Donald Trump in Montana last night. Vice President Harris and her ticket mate, running mate, Tim Walz in Vegas last night, or I should say in Arizona last night. Let's listen in on what Tim Walz was saying to the crowd now.
And then 10,000 plus walked into a field in western Wisconsin. And then on Wednesday, the largest crowd of the campaign showed up in Detroit, Michigan. But Arizona just couldn't leave it alone, could you? Wow. You know, it's not as if anybody cares about crowd sizes or anything. So. Wow. Let me begin by giving a few thanks to some people here and a few dear folks to us. First of all, I want to thank Arizona for sharing Senator Mark Kelly and Gabby Giffords with the rest of the country. Gabby was a classmate of mine in '06, and they are both national treasures. Thank you, Arizona. Also had the privilege of serving with Congressman Gallego, and I'll have to tell you, he was an amazing colleague, and I have to tell you, he's going to be an amazing senator. But we get a twofer with Ruben because we know who is never going to be a United States senator. To all the local elected officials, thank you. But the most important thank you to each and every one of you. Look, you took time out of your busy lives. You found babysitters. You took time off work. You walked for miles in. Look, I'm a Minnesotan. I'm like a damn snowman. I'm melting here. We walk on water half the year in Minnesota. It's so damn cold. But not you. You came. And you came into this space with neighbors. And you came here for one beautiful, simple reason. You love this democracy. I'll tell you what. Wow. Well, I couldn't be prouder to stand with you, and I couldn't be prouder to be on this ticket. You know what's at the end of this little journey? Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States. This is a leader who wakes up every day on the side of the American people. She will take on the predators. She will take on the fraudsters. She will take on the transnational gangs, and she will stand up to the corporate interests and put middle America first. And she's been effective. She's been willing to reach across the aisle no matter what, just to make sure it improves people's lives. And I'll have to tell you, I know a little something about commitment to people. Some of you heard this. I was born in a small town in Nebraska. And we talk about small towns. These are those Nebraskans that moved out here for the winter, so. But look, small town was all about community. My mom and dad, they taught us to show some care to your neighbors, show some generosity, work towards a common good, be a decent human being to your neighbors. My dad, and some of you know him in here, you had him, a chain-smoking Korean War era veteran, cared about his community, but 2 days after I turned 17, he took me down to join the Army National Guard. And for 24 years, I proudly wore that uniform. I'm proud of that service, but what my nation gave my dad and millions of others and me was an opportunity to use the GI Bill to get a college education. My dad was a teacher. My brothers and sisters and I all became teachers. And we married teachers. I had the privilege of teaching high school social studies for 20 years. And you might have heard, coaching a state championship football team. Now if the Vikings could just win, that would be the rebirth. Look. That worked better near Green Bay, I'll tell you. So, look, it was my students. It was my students who encouraged me to run. They saw in me what I hope to instill in them, a commitment to a common good. The belief, the true belief, that one person, one of us in here, can make a difference in somebody's life. I wasn't very politically savvy because I did not know it when I decided to run for Congress that there had been one other Democrat elected in that district since 1892. But my neighbors believed, and they graced me with an opportunity to serve them in the United States Congress for 12 years. And I'm proud of the work I did as ranking member on the Veterans Affairs Committee, working on the Agriculture Committee. And I worked hand in hand with Republicans to make sure that we were crafting legislation that improved the lives of veterans and people all across this country. I learned how to compromise without compromising my values. And as governor of the great state of Minnesota, I brought all of those experiences to the challenges facing the state of Minnesota. This idea about a common good, this idea about something bigger than ourselves, this idea of kindness, generosity, and compassion, that this building, which I have been told, by the way, might be the largest political gathering in the history of Arizona. I think it's safe to say Donald Trump sees the world a little differently than we do. First and foremost, and be very clear about this, he doesn't know the first thing about service. It's hard to provide service when you're too busy serving only yourself. Again and again and again, Donald Trump weakens our country to strengthen his own hands. You've watched him mock our laws. You watched him sow chaos and division at every opportunity. And that's to say nothing of his record as president. As governors, he froze during COVID and pitted us in a hunger game against our neighbors to try and find basic life-saving needs. And because of him, our neighbors died. By failing to address COVID, he drove the economy into the ground. And let's be very clear. The statistics and the facts are clear about this. Violent crime was up under Donald Trump. And we don't even have to count his crimes in that to make it up. So, still. Look, better yet, beat the hell out of him at the ballot box. Beat the hell out of him at the ballot box. Look, you and I, especially the gray hairs in the crowd, we know our relatives. Republicans used to be the people talking about freedom. Not this group. When they talk about freedom, it means that the government should be free to invade your exam room with your doctor. Look, in Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and the personal choices they make. We maybe wouldn't make the same choices, but we respect them. And I know in Minnesota and in Arizona and places across this country, you know what makes society work best? Is when you learn a golden rule. Mind your own damn business. Mind your own damn business. You don't need it. I don't need you telling me what books to read. I don't need you telling me about what religion we worship. And I sure the heck don't need you to tell me about my family. Look, this one's personal for me. This one's personal for me about IVF and reproductive care. When my wife and I, my wife of 30 years, because yes, we share family values, we just make our own damn choices about our family. But when we wanted to have children, we went through years of fertility treatment. And I remember it was like it was yesterday, just waiting for good news. And then the phone would ring and you would be tensed up, and then you would hear that the treatments had failed. It would blot out the sun that you just wanted something so beautiful and so simple to have a child. And then one day, and it wasn't by chance, when that news came and we welcomed our daughter into the world, we named her Hope. We named her Hope. I'm not crying, you're crying. So when Vice President Harris and I talk about freedom, we're very clear. We mean the freedom to make your own health care decisions. and for all of our children to be free to go to school without worrying they'll be shot dead in their classroom. And in Minnesota, believe me, we believe in the Second Amendment, but we also believe in common sense gun violence laws. I remind my colleagues when I was in Congress, Ruben could tell this story, for 3 years in a row I was the top gun in the congressional trap shoot, so we can shoot better than them too, just by the way. When Vice President Harris talks about freedom, it's when freedom is when education is a ticket to the middle class, not crippling student loan debt. And this building and what we believe in, we are people that settle our political differences not through violence, but through voting. It's a simple. Imagine every person in here is going to vote, and every person in here is going to get 10 other people to vote. And let's just go ahead and not go through this thing that it's so close. Let's just win big, people. Let's just win big. That's our choice. How often you get a choice so simple that this is going to decide the direction of our country. We have 87 days to decide the direction we're going to go. And I've been saying it. We can do anything for 87 days. Anything. And my mantra is, and look, you can see it on me over the last 5 days, we'll sleep when we're dead. We'll sleep when we're dead. Not now. Not now. Look, you know it, and I know it, but I think we need to be reminded. You know exactly what Donald Trump's plans are. You know which direction he's taking us. Don't believe this guy. Don't believe, that's like, listen, no one in here believes this guy, so anyway. But don't believe it when he's playing dumb about this Project 2025. He knows exactly what it'll do. They are not playing. They wrote their plan out. But just like they're getting arrogant about it, they're saying the quiet stuff out loud. It'll take our freedoms. It'll rig the economy for the super rich. It'll underfund veterans. And you know that if he goes back again, he's not only going to let go where he left off, it is going to be much, much, much worse. So look, rising costs, pulling health care from us, you know the whole routine. Look, I get this too. I know I'm preaching to the choir, a damn big and beautiful choir. But practice is over, people. The choir needs to sing. The choir needs to sing. Trump's not fighting for your family. He doesn't give a damn. And his running mate shares the same dangerous, twisted, backward agenda. Yeah. Every kid in my class of 25 studied at Yale, had their career funded by Silicon Valley billionaires, and then writes a book trashing the very people who raised you. I've said it. It wasn't a name. It was an observation. These guys come up with the weirdest damn ideas that you will ever imagine. You know it's true. But here's the good news. We know the stakes. We know who they are. When they told us, we believed them. We know what's coming. But here's the big thing about it is, that's a reality that's not going to happen because the people in this building and millions across the country. This is a campaign about the future. We know what's there. We know it can come. We're not people who are afraid of the future. We shape the future. Kamala Harris believes in the freedom to make your own choices. She believes in the opportunity for every single person to enter the middle class. And she believes something so beautiful. She believes in the promise of America.
Governor Tim Walz speaking last night in Glendale, Arizona, and Vice President Kamala Harris also spoke at that rally. We're going to hear from her on the other side of our first break of the hour, 8:22 on the East Coast, 5:22 out west on your Saturday morning. Lots of breaking news stories, developing stories, and political news for you on this Saturday morning. We're going to hear from Kamala Harris on the other side of the break, and we also have excerpts from former President Donald Trump at his rally late last night in Bozeman, Montana. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Keith Landry. It's 8:25 on the East Coast, 5:25 out west on your Saturday morning on August 10th. I hope you're off to a good start. Let's take a live look right now at the White House in our nation's capital. And we can tell you things are looking good in the White House, and we're honing in on election 2024. Less than 90 days now in this race for the White House. Last night, former President Donald Trump was out in Bozeman, Montana for a very late rally out there. I'm going to bring you some of his speech a little bit later on here this morning, so stay with us for that. And Vice President Kamala Harris spoke with her running mate, Tim Walz, in Glendale, Arizona, a battleground state they feel like they can pick up this year. That is going to be a super close call. Harris took the stage last night after Walz, and let's listen in to what she had to say.
Good evening. We're gonna do this. Good evening. Good. Thank you all. Thank you. Can we hear it for Tim Walz? Oh my goodness. Oh, it's good to be back in Arizona. Good evening, everyone. Oh my goodness. Thank you all so very much. Oh, it is good to be back. Let me just say, let me just start by thanking everyone who is here. Thank you all so very much. All of you. to do this. And I want to thank all of the incredible leaders who are here, including Congressman Greg Stanton, your next United States Senator, Congressman Ruben Gallego, and my dear friend, United States Senator Mark Kelly. And let me just say, as Arizona knows, Mark is an extraordinary leader who has dedicated his life to the service of our nation as a fighter pilot, as an astronaut, and as a member of the United States Congress. And he has given so much to our country. He always fights for the people of Arizona. And I am so grateful, Mark, for your friendship and your leadership. The phenomenal Congresswoman Gabby Giffords. There are also an incredible group of mayors with us today. Mayor Kate Gallego, Mayor Corey Woods, and Arizona co-chair of Republicans for Harris, Mayor John Giles. So today, I also bring greetings from our incredible President, Joe Biden. And I know we are all deeply grateful for his lifetime of service to our nation, and we thank Joe Biden each and every day for all he is and all he has done and all he has yet to do. Let us thank him always. So, Arizona, this has been a big week. On Monday, I officially became the Democratic nominee for President of the United States. And on Tuesday, I announced my running mate in this campaign, Governor Tim Walz. And as you all just heard, Tim has a great record as governor of the great state of Minnesota. And to those who know him best, Tim goes by a few more titles besides governor. To his wife, Gwen, thank you. So Tim, we know him by governor, but you'll soon get to know his wife, Gwen, to whom, you know what? Hold on a second. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Here's the thing. We are all in here together. I'm told an extraordinary number of folks who are here together because we love our country. We're here to fight for our democracy. Which includes respecting the voices that I think that we are hearing from. And let me just say this on topic of what I think I'm hearing over there. Let me just speak to that for a moment, and then I'm going to get back to the business at hand. So let me say, I have been clear. Now is the time to get a ceasefire deal and get the hostage deal done. Now is the time. And the president and I are working around the clock every day to get that ceasefire deal done and bring the hostages home. home. So I respect your voices, but we are here to now talk about this race in 2024.
Okay, Vice President Kamala Harris speaking in Glendale, Arizona last night. We're taking a very quick break. We have to squeeze in a break here. We will get back to that on the other side of the break. Get right back to it as soon as we can. Stay with us.
May learn more. He's an extraordinary person. He's known by many titles. To his wife, Gwen, he is husband. To his kids, Hope and Gus, he is dad. To the people of southern Minnesota for 12 years, he was congressman. To his former high school students, he was Mr. Walls. And to his former high school football players, he was coach. And in 88 days, the nation will know Coach Walls by a new title, Vice President of the United States. So it's so good to be back in Arizona, and I thank you all for turning out today. This is an extraordinary, extraordinary thing. And Arizona, I'll also say this, as exciting as this is, we cannot lose sight of a really important fact. We are definitely running as the underdog. We are the underdog. We are out in great numbers, but we got a lot of work to do. And this is going to be hard work, but I know we like hard work. Hard work is good work for all of us. Hard work is good work. And we will do it with joy. And I know we are all clear about what we are up against. As many of you know, before I was elected vice president, I was an elected United States Senator. Before that, I was an elected Attorney General, and before that, an elected District Attorney. And before that, I was a courtroom prosecutor. So I took on, in these roles, perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, scammers who broke the rules for personal gain. So Arizona, hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. In fact, I've been dealing with people like him my entire career. For example, as Attorney General of California, I took on one of our country's largest for-profit colleges that scammed students. Well, Donald Trump ran a for-profit college that scammed students. As a prosecutor, I specialized in cases of sexual abuse. Well, Donald Trump was found liable for committing sexual abuse. As Attorney General, I held Wall Street banks accountable for fraud. Well, Donald Trump was just found guilty of fraud, 34 counts. So all of this, yeah, the courts will deal with that. We're going to win in November. We're going to win in November. We'll handle that too. So, but all of this is to say, in this campaign, I will proudly put my record against his every day of the week. Every day of the week. But make no mistake, that being said, our campaign is not just about us versus Donald Trump. It is about, and I love you, Bob. Our campaign is about two different visions for our nation. One, ours, focused on the future. The other, focused on the past. And Arizona, we fight for the future. A future with affordable health care, affordable child care, and paid leave. A future where we build a broad-based economy where every American has an opportunity to own a home, to start a business, to build wealth. Here with us today, I know we have a number of Native leaders. And as president, I will tell you, I will always honor tribal sovereignty and respect tribal self-determination. And fight for a future where every Native person can realize their aspirations and every Native community is a place of opportunity. We believe in a future where we lower the cost of living for America's families, so that they have the chance not just to get by, but to get ahead. Because look, while our economy is doing well by many measures, prices for everyday things like groceries are still too high. You know it and I know it. When I was Attorney General, I went after price-fixing schemes. And when I am president, I will continue that work to bring down prices. I will take on big corporations that engage in illegal price gouging. I will take on corporate landlords that unfairly raise rents on working families. I will take on big pharma and cap the cost of prescription drugs for all Americans. And all of this is to say, unlike Donald Trump, I will always put the middle class and working families first. Because you see, Coach Walz and I know the middle class built the United States of America. And when the middle class is strong, America is strong. And while we work to move our nation forward, look, Donald Trump, be very clear, intends to move us backward. Just look, and we're not going back. Tim talked about it. Look at his Project 2025 agenda. It's 900 plus pages. I can't believe they put that thing in writing, by the way. But when you look at it, when you read it, you will see Project 2025 is a plan to weaken the middle class. If he is elected, Donald Trump intends to give a tax break to billionaires and big corporations. To cut Social Security and Medicare. He intends to surrender our fight against the climate crisis. And Arizona, every day you feel the impact of extreme heat and drought. You know this crisis is real. He calls it a hoax. And on top of all of this, if Donald Trump wins in November, he intends to end the Affordable Care Act and take us back to a time when insurance companies had the power to deny people with pre-existing conditions. You remember what that was? Remember what that was? He won't win. You're right. We are going to win is because we remember, and we are smart, and we know what's happening, and we're not falling for the gaslighting, and we're not falling for the okie doke. That's why. So look, America has tried so many of those failed policies before, and like we all know, we're not going back. We will move forward and take on the biggest issues facing our nation. For example, the issue of immigration. So I was Attorney General of a border state. I went after the transnational gangs, the drug cartels, and human traffickers. I prosecuted them in case after case, and I won. So I know what I'm talking about. We know our immigration system is broken, and we know what it takes to fix it. Comprehensive reform that includes strong border security and an earned pathway to citizenship. But Donald Trump does not want to fix this problem. Be clear about that. He has no interest or desire to actually fix the problem. He talks a big game about border security, but he does not walk the walk. Earlier this year, everybody here knows, earlier this year we had a chance to pass the toughest bipartisan border security bill in decades. But Donald Trump tanked the deal. Because he thought by doing that it would help him win an election. But when I am president, I will sign the bill. So Arizona, ours is a fight for the future, and it is a fight for freedom. Across our nation, we are witnessing a full-on assault against hard-fought, hard-won freedoms and rights. The freedom to vote, the freedom to be safe from gun violence, the freedom to love who you love openly and with pride. And the freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government telling her what to do. And on that last point, understand how we got here. When he was president, Donald Trump handpicked 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would overturn and undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as he intended, they did. And now, in over 20 states in our nation, there is a Trump abortion ban. Many, like Arizona, with no exceptions, even for rape or incest. And just yesterday, in a press conference, we got a fresh reminder of what Donald Trump's Project 2025 agenda would do. It would ban medication abortion in every state. But we are not going to let that happen. Because we trust women. And when I am President of the United States, and when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedoms for every woman in America, I will sign it into law. So listen, here's the thing that we all know. Here's the thing we all know. Generations of Americans before us led the fight for freedom. Now, the baton is in our hands. Each and every one of us. So we who believe in the sacred freedom to vote will finally pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the Freedom to Vote Act. And we who believe in the freedom to live safe from gun violence will finally pass an assault weapons ban, universal background checks, and red flag laws. So much is on the line in this election. And understand, this is not 2016, and this is not 2020. You know, this time around, the stakes are even higher. And that's because last month, the United States Supreme Court basically just told the former president, who has been convicted of fraud, that going forward, he will be effectively immune no matter what he does in the White House. But think about what that means. Think about what that means in this election. Think about what that means. He's been effectively told he will be immune if he's back in the White House. Think about what that means when you remember Donald Trump has openly vowed, if reelected, he will be a dictator on day one. That he will weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Remember that he even called for the, quote, termination of the Constitution of the United States. Understand what this means. And let us be very clear. Someone who suggests we should terminate the Constitution of the United States should never again stand behind the seal of the United States president. Never again.
Okay, Kamala Harris speaking in Glendale, Arizona last night. We do have to squeeze in our last break of the hour. And when we come back, we'll bring you the rest of that speech, plus some breaking news stories in Central Florida and Israel. Lots of things going on this morning. Please come on back. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox 856 on the East Coast, 556 out west. Taking you back to Glendale, Arizona, as we continue with Vice President Kamala Harris's comments last night.
After all, the promise of America is what makes it possible for Governor Walz and me to be on the same stage together. Because think, two middle-class kids, one a daughter of Oakland, California, who was raised by a working mother, had a summer job at McDonald's. The other, a son of Nebraska Plains who grew up working on a farm. Think about it. Only in America is it possible for them together to make it all the way to the White House. Only in America. Only in America. So we together, all of us, we're running this campaign on behalf of all Americans, from red states to blue states, from the heartland to the coast. And when we are elected, we will govern on behalf of all Americans. All Americans. So Arizona, ultimately in this election, I do believe we each one of us, we face a question. That question being, what kind of country do we want to live in? Do we want to live in a country of chaos, fear, and hate? Or a country of freedom, compassion, and rule of law? And the beauty of our democracy, is that we each have the power to answer that question. Each one of us in a democracy has the power to answer that question. The power is with the people. And in the next, then 88 days, we need you to use your power. We need you to knock on some doors. We need you to register folks to vote. We need you to energize, to mobilize, to organize, and to make your voices heard. Are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in opportunity? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win.
Okay, Kamala Harris, Vice President, the Democratic nominee, last night in Glendale, Arizona, with her running mate, Tim Walz. And a live look at the White House right now, the nation's capital, as the contest continues to see who will be the next president of the United States, the 47th president. And in just a little while, during the 9 o'clock hour of Live Now from Fox on your Saturday morning, we are going to bring you comments from former President Donald Trump last night out in Bozeman, Montana. He had his plane diverted to Billings after a little mechanical issue, and then he went on to Bozeman. He spoke quite at length, but we are going to give you a good part of his speech from last night. It is 9 o'clock on the East Coast and 6 o'clock on the West Coast. I'm Keith Landry, live now from Fox on your Saturday morning. Lots of breaking news stories to tell you about this morning. Right now, we are taking you to Central Florida for a very sad story. The funeral will be held this morning in Claremont, Florida, northwest of Orlando, for a fallen deputy, a hero killed in the line of duty in Eustis, Florida, north of Orlando last Friday night. This is the story of Master Deputy Bradley Link, shown right here. He died in the line of duty heroically after responding to a disturbance call at a house in Eustis, north of Orlando. Prosecutors say that Deputy Link was ambushed and shot to death by a man inside that house. A SWAT team went into the house trying to rescue him. They did take him out a while later. He was pronounced dead at a local hospital. 2 other deputies were also shot during that incident. Our colleagues at Fox 35 in Orlando are covering this story this morning. They're going to bring you the funeral live here this morning on Live Now from Fox starting at 11 a.m. So we're going to have full coverage for you on that. It will be unedited, and we will bring that to you this morning at 11 a.m. Let's just take a moment to look at this 28-year-old hero for just a moment as we reflect on his sacrifice and what law enforcement officers across Florida are thinking about this morning. So again, we will have live coverage starting at 11 from Claremont, Florida, of his funeral. It'll be quite a sight to see, with Central Florida law enforcement sending many folks in uniforms to salute this hero and to sort of just pay their respects for the ultimate sacrifice that he made in the line of duty. Continuing now with another top story, we're going to take you to Israel right now. This is a look at the border between Israel and the Gaza Strip. As I bring that up for you live right now, there it is. You can see that it is a cloudy day there on the border with Israel and Hamas. We're 10 months into the conflict now. And the breaking news story this morning is that an Israeli airstrike on a Hamas commando center has killed dozens of people. We can tell you that Israel is making it clear that this airstrike was on what they call a commando center. It was inside a school, but Israel insists it was a commando center planning plots against the Israeli people. And that airstrike did hit at a school in the Gaza City. At least 80 people were killed. The Israeli military acknowledging the strike, but claiming it hit a Hamas command center in that school. The strike on the Tabin school in central Gaza also wounding almost 50 people. But you know, so often we've seen these schools in the Gaza Strip turned into shelters for people fleeing their homes in the war. But repeatedly, Israel has made the case that Hamas is using these schools and other civilian facilities to plan attacks and store weapons. Video from the scene showed walls blown out on the ground level of the building, concrete chunks, twisted metal laying on top of the floor there. So again, an airstrike by Israel early this morning, killing dozens, but they are stressing that this was a command center for Hamas in the heart of the Gaza Strip. So we're gonna just let this view sit there. And of course, Israel and the United States and other allies of Israel are preparing for a potential retaliatory strike from Iran after we had a situation where the political mastermind of Hamas was killed in an airstrike, or in an attack, an assassination, I should say, several days ago. So that is a live look right now along the Gaza Strip after that major Israeli airstrike. And we're going to continue to follow this story for you throughout the day here on Live Now from Fox. And right now, we are continuing our coverage of the presidential race. Former President Donald Trump was in Bozeman, Montana late last night. It was a very late rally. He spoke for a little more than an hour, and we do want to bring you excerpts of his speech now. We may go to some commercial breaks and come back to it if we need to, but let's go ahead and listen in as we listen into the former president out in Bozeman, Montana now. Let's look at that now.
Thank you. Oh. Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you. This is a big crowd. A nice crowd. Thank you very much, and a very, very special hello, Montana. I've been traveling all over your state. I'll tell you, I know Montana better than you know. I was all over your state today. Everything's 2 hours. When are we going to be there? 2 hours, sir, 2 hours. I got to like Tim Sheehy a lot to be here, I have to tell you. He better win. He better win. No. This is some beautiful country, though. I did do a lot of driving. I'd go to one. We went to some friends' house, a really good friend's house with your governor. You have a great governor in this state. You know that, Greg. You have a great. But we went around the state, and it was so beautiful. And I'd say, when will I be there? Approximately 2.5 hours. So, oh, great. Thank you. It's a big state. It's a beautiful state, and we love it. And we've won it every time by a lot. So I'm thrilled to be back in this incredible place, this beautiful state with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots, which is what you are. You built the country. Less than 3 months from now, we are going to defeat radical left Democrat Jon Tester. He's terrible. He is terrible. He is terrible. And send Tim Sheehy to the United States Senate. We're going to evict crazy Kamala. Do you know, ever hear of Kamala? Radical left. Radical left. Well, she has a couple of things that a lot of people from Montana would like she wants to take away your guns. You like that, right? All right, how about this? She wants to defund the police. Are you okay with that? She wants to allow millions of people to pour into our border through an invasion, using an invasion process. I don't think so. I don't think that's for you. It's not for me either. It's not for most people in this country. We're going to evict crazy Kamala, and we're going to get Joe Biden out of the White House. What's he doing now? Greg, what's he doing? You know, he wanted to debate. If we didn't have a debate, he'd still be there. Can you imagine if we didn't have a debate? Why the hell did I debate him? How did he do? Do you think he's happy with it? I don't think so. He's not too happy. You know, they took it away from him. They really did. They took it away. The guy had 14 million votes. She had none. But I'd rather run against her. I think she's easier to beat. I really do. I believe it. And we are going to make America great again. We're going to make it so great. This election is about saving our economy, ending inflation, securing our borders, restoring respect for our nation. We're no longer respected. Preventing World War III, especially for all these young people, these young, beautiful people. We don't want to get them into World War III. And stopping a 1929-style depression, because that's what's going to happen. You saw what happened last week. With your vote, we will reverse the Kamala crash, and we will end the Kamala chaos, and we will stop the Biden-Harris invasion of people that don't belong in our country. They're invading our country. Kamala Harris, you know, nobody really knows her last name. If you ask people, do you know what her last name is? Nobody has any idea what it is. Harris. It's like Harris. I don't know. How the hell did this happen? You know, they said, so we had the debate. He didn't exactly do well. And they actually, CNN was very nice. They said, that was one of the greatest debate performances I've ever seen, said by a very important person at CNN. Then what happens? 2 days later, they said he was lousy. They don't talk about me anymore. They just said he was lousy. And he was pretty bad, you have to admit. But we're going to turn it around. We're going to turn this country around. We're going to turn it around very fast. We're turning it around very fast. And Kamala is not up to the job. Is not up to it. Neither is Tester up to it. You know, Tester, everyone thinks like he's my best friend. He's never voted for me once, and yet his commercials is, I like Donald Trump very much. I love his pride. I love his border stance. He votes against the border. He voted against funding of the border. He said, I love his stance on energy. He voted against our energy programs. He votes against us 100%. He's voted in favor of crooked Joe Biden 100% of the time. He did it last time. with the election. We had the same problem. Do you remember? He comes out, everyone's saying, he really likes your policy a lot. He doesn't like, he's a radical left lunatic, just like Kamala, and we got to elect him. We got to get him in. Got to get Tim in. Since becoming a presidential candidate, she has refused to do a single interview. You know why? Because she's dumb. Or hold a single press conference. She won't hold a press conference. She won't do it. She won't do it. She doesn't want. And they're easy questions, you know, because the press, look at them back there. Look at all of them. A lot of press. They're rigged. They're rigged. They're fake news. You know, I looked and I get these tough questions from the press all the time, and I look at the questions that Joe got, right? Where do you think you're having dinner tonight? What will you eat? Will you have ice cream for dessert? No, I don't know. It's unfair, the questions are so hard, he says. No, the way they treated him and with me. I won't use the questions because I don't want to give any ideas. They give me the worst questions. They are so nasty. They are the nastiest people, I think, on earth. And Kamala gives the exact same speech over and over again. Over and over. The same exact words. One of the people put it up, like they put 6 of them up, and it was like, every single word is the same. I don't do that. I got to give you a little bit of variety, right? I change all these damn speeches. Where are my speechwriters? I'm going to do that. Just have one speech and just for the next 90 days go out and just read that thing. But we don't like to read teleprompters, right? It's not as much fun. It's not as exciting. And somehow it's never as good, is it, huh? No, I think we're going to write up one standard speech. You read it from beginning to end. You know what would happen? You'd start walking out. They'd say, oh, look, Trump's not holding. How about yesterday? They said, oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd. The press is talking about the crowd. In New Jersey, I had 107,000 people. The press never even talked about it. They don't talk about it. Right? They don't talk about it. Because they're fake. I went to South Carolina. We had 82,000 people. Oh, Front Row Joe, look. We have many Front Row Joes. We have Mr. Wall over here. Look, I love that suit. Do you think he's in favor of building a wall? I think so, yes. I think so. He's great. How many of you come to? Over 200, right? And you know, he's a great guy. He's like, makes a lot of money. You've got to make a lot of money. He travels all over the country. But the Front Row Joes are great. We have so many people. They've been to so many of the rallies. The rallies are great. We had a tough one 4 weeks ago. Very tough one, right? We had a very tough one. Lost a great person, Corey. Great firefighter, great person. Really amazing man. Corey. Yeah, a tough one, right? And 2 gentlemen, real Trumpers, real Trump people. The people, they love our country. What's a Trumper? They love our country, too. Really, really badly hurt. They didn't think they were going to make it, and they did make it, and they're going to be as good as ever, and they're great. The doctors in that whole Butler area did a phenomenal job, I will tell you. They thought these 2 would not make it, and they not only made it, they're going to be, they'll be as good as new, but it'll take a little work, but they got hit hard. All Kamala does is read that teleprompter while pretending she had nothing to do with any of the disasters that they... You know, she's totally given up of all of the things. She said, I want this, I want that, I want that. Now she doesn't want any of it. And then they accused me of being horrible when I questioned her. She wanted to be non-energy independent. She wants windmills all over the place, windmills. Put a windmill on top of the building. We have so much oil under our feet. We have more liquid gold under our feet than any country in the world, including Saudi Arabia and Russia. And we don't use it. 4 weeks ago, think of it. 4 weeks ago, the media said she was grossly incompetent. And I said, oh, this is going to be an easy race. She didn't have a chance of beating me. She couldn't do anything. They wanted to get her out. They thought she should resign with Crooked Joe Biden. What do you like better? It doesn't matter anymore, but what do you like better, Crooked Joe or Sleepy Joe? Sleepy Joe, Crooked Joe. Okay, ready? They're both correct. I think Crooked Joe is more correct than Sleepy. You're like, all right, ready? Crooked first.
Okay, former President Donald Trump speaking last night in Bozeman, Montana, before a large crowd. We're taking a quick commercial break. We're going to come right back to that speech on the other side of the break. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. It is 9:19 on the East Coast and 6:19 out west. I'm Keith Landry. We are taking you back out to Bozeman, Montana for former President Donald Trump's speech last night before a big rally out there. Let's listen in.
He's smarter than she is. But the Democrats didn't have the courage to force her off. They didn't have it. They didn't want to do it. It was politically incorrect. And now the media is saying that she's wonderful. She's wonderful. The same people back there, 4 of them I recognize so perfectly. If you can't do a press conference, you cannot be president, okay? That's it. She doesn't do anything. Remember when I used to always walk up to the press under the helicopter or under the wing of the plane and talk to them? I loved it because if I didn't like their question, I could say, I can't hear the helicopters. But they do mini versions of it. Nobody ever did that before, you know. That was it. And they copy. Everybody copies me. So now she walks up. She'll take like a half a question, and she'll leave. Joe is bad. Joe couldn't hear. He couldn't do anything. It was an embarrassment to that art form. That was an art form. It was an embarrassment. Kamala, sometimes referred to as Kamala. You know, she got about 9 different ways of pronouncing the name. And because the press is so dishonest, no matter how you say it, they'll say you were wrong. You were wrong. I don't care if I get it right. Actually, I couldn't care less. Couldn't care less. I actually haven't been accused that I know of calling it wrong, but if I did, they'd say that he did it on purpose. And you could do that. I've done a lot of bad name calling, where you call somebody that you know how to say the name perfectly and you call it on purpose. They say, sir, you made a mistake. I said, no, I didn't. Kamala will not answer for her record of failure and weakness. A doctor, please. Doctor in the house. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Take your time. Take your time, Doc. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. We love these people. They wait for 2 days sometimes, and then it's tough. It's not easy. Are they okay? Thank you very much. And doctor, take your time. Good. Thank you, darling. Thank you. Thank you. Take your time, doctor, please. We got a lot of time, right? Nice Friday evening. Friday evening in Montana. I think my next drive is going to be about 3-4 hours from here. I wish it was a little closer. Yeah, that's the one thing. But that's okay. That's all right. Our governor says we have all the time we want. Greg says we have all. You got one of the best governors. I don't know if you know. Do they appreciate it or not? I don't know. And the governor's wife, I don't know. He's a great one. He's a great guy. We better get 4 more years, or we're not going to have a country left if we don't get 4 more years. We're going to not have a country left. That's why so many people, they come and they waited for days. They wait for days, and it's tough. It's tough. Thank you, darling. Thank you. Yay. Wow. Thank you, honey. That's great. That's really good. Incredible people. So when you're commander-in-chief, you don't go to the run and hide away from the press. You know, they go and run, and they want to go on a record that's a fake record. They have a fake record, both of them. How about the new guy? How do you like him? And anytime you tell a story about anybody, by the way, Steve Daines, how good is he? True. He's one of the finest. He's one of the finest people you'll ever meet. I really mean that too. And it's an honor to be with you. And you want to do this so badly because you want to save the country. We need the Senate. We need the Senate. So thank you, Steve, for being here. Thank you. And what a beautiful family. But you don't get to flee from tough questions, and you don't get to read a teleprompter like for short periods of time where you make a speech that's like 2 minutes and everything is right off the teleprompter. What a lot of work to do for that. And you don't sit across the table from Vladimir Putin and President Xi of China. They're lovely individuals. If you can't handle our press, because they're not as tough as you think, I've been handling them for 4 years, and then another 4 years. They don't stop. They keep coming at you. They're the worst. But we're going to do something. We're going to have the biggest victory. They're going to celebrate, because I think silently they do celebrate. I think silently they do. I think silently they're for us. They're afraid to say it, right? They're afraid to say it, but I think silently a lot of those people back there in the press, and that's a lot of people, but I think they're for us. For nearly 4 years, Joe Biden's mental incompetence has given Harris a free rein to impose her ultra-liberal agenda on America and others with her and destroy our country. You're destroying our country. Joe Biden was exposed during the debate. Likewise, Kamala will be exposed during the debate. She will be exposed during the debate, or debates. But so far, she's refusing to debate. we want to have a debate. Think of it. So she wants to have no debates, but one maybe at the most. And she wants it to be on ABC because ABC with George Stephanopoulos. Have you ever heard of it? It's the nastiest of all. Who would think it, right? You think of NBC's terrible, and they are. MSNBC is disgusting. But the worst might be ABC, and that's the only one she'll do. And you know, when Biden came out with a brilliant idea to have a debate, how did that work out for him? Not so good. But he came out, they handed me Jake Tapper, sometimes referred to as Fake Tapper, but I have to tell you, he was totally fair, and Dana Bash, and they were totally fair. They really were. CNN. So they said, we want to debate. They gave me one option, because they weren't going to debate. He didn't want to debate. They gave me one option. CNN, Dana Bash, and Jake Tapper. There will be no audience. There will be turning off your mics as soon as you finish speaking, and if you go over 1 second, they turn off, and they make you look very bad. The good part is he didn't use much of his. You know, they give you 2 minutes, and they'd say, right, you have 92 seconds left. And I kept saying, I'll take it. Can I have it? I want it. I want the 92 seconds at this. And then I'd do another one. You have 37 seconds left. That's a lot, you know, when you're up there, 37 seconds. And that's the last thing he wanted to hear because he didn't want to talk anymore. You have 77 seconds left. He goes, oh, show. What am I going to do? This is who our president was. And now we have somebody that's worse, in my opinion, worse. You have to remember, they said that he couldn't beat me now. I mean, after the debate, he was down, way down in the polls. They didn't even want to show the polls. They said he's not going to win. So they said, we're going to take him out and we're going to put somebody new in. This never happened to anybody before. We spent $100 million fighting crooked Joe Biden. And then all of a sudden they decide to take him out and put somebody else in. She never got one vote. She was the first loser in the primaries. You know, she ran against Joe Biden and everybody else. I think they had like 16 people running. She never made Iowa the first state. I love Iowa. You know why I love it? Because I win it every single time with the farmers. We win it. But she never made Iowa. She was the first one to quit. And now, and stupid, honestly, she was the nastiest to him, too. And then he picked her. I couldn't believe it. And she was part of the cabal that got him out. You know, they got him out. They said, we'll do it the nice way, or we'll do it the hard way, Joe. We'll use the 25th Amendment, and we'll call you mentally incompetent, and everybody will believe us. And you know what they did is a terrible thing, actually. They forced him out. It was a coup. We had a coup. That was the first coup in the history of our country. And it was very successful. He said, okay, I'll leave. If that's what you want, I'll leave. And now he's seeing what the competition is. I hear he's going to make a comeback at the Democrat convention. He's going to walk into the room and he's going to say, I want my presidency back. I want another chance to debate Trump. I want another chance. But I handed Kamala and Crooked Joe a surging economy with no inflation. We had no inflation. We had nothing. We had the greatest economy in the history of the world. True. Their radical socialist lunacy turned it into a failing economy with the worst inflation in probably 70 years. You know, they say 47. I don't believe 47. I think it's much more. I handed her the strongest border in U.S. history. She turned it into the worst border invasion in the history of the world. By the way, the chart, the border chart, I love that chart. I love that chart.
Okay, we are watching former President Donald Trump's rally from Bozeman, Montana last night. Quick commercial break, coming right back to it on the other side of the break. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. 9:33 on the East Coast, 6:33 out west on your Saturday morning, August 10th. I'm Keith Landry. Continuing our coverage right now, former President Donald Trump's late night rally last night out in Bozeman, Montana. Let's listen in again.
We had a tremendous crowd, but all of the people, as far as the eye could see, they were here and some in the back. And how great were the people in the back? But all the people were the same. Nobody fled. You know, when a crowd hears a bullet, they always run. They heard lots of bullets because there were lots of bullets going off. And our Secret Service shooter, our Secret Service sniper, whatever you want to call him, water shot, he used one bullet from much further away because the sniper was there and he was way over here. And he wasn't warned that this could happen. I mean, that was the breakdown they had. They weren't warned. But he heard bullets. He immediately looked over, took aim and shot. One bullet, can you imagine that? From probably 400 yards, pretty far. But if it wasn't for that sign, in this case it came down to the right, it's never on the right, never. And it's never at the beginning of the speech. And I do, you know, I don't use the teleprompter a lot because I think it gets bad, but I just said, you know, let's take a look at the immigration numbers that we had, because they're great numbers. They're the best numbers in the history of our country. The Border Patrol did that chart. Thank you very much, Border Patrol. I appreciate it. But the Border Patrol did that chart. And you see the arrow on the bottom, the red arrow on the bottom. That's the lowest point. That was the week I left office. Look what happened after I left office. Look at that. And it's much worse now because that's a few months now. The numbers are much worse. They've let an invasion of our country happen, but I took a look. And because I took that look, I mean, what are the chances of that? So I just want to thank everybody, because I'll tell you what, the level of love and compassion and all of the things that we all went through, that was a terrible thing. And we're going to be very careful. We have to be very careful. This is, by the way, being president is a dangerous profession. You know, this is a very dangerous, this is not the safest profession out there, but it was an amazing event. And for those of you that don't believe in God, I believe that there's only one reason that could have happened, because the chances were so small. Right? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we're going back to Butler. You know that, right? We're going back to Butler. We got to go back. We got to go back to Butler. They were great. And the hospital was incredible. The doctors were incredible that worked on our two friends that were so badly hurt. The doctors were everything about it. And we're going to go back just before the election sometime in October. It's already being worked on. And I'll probably start off by saying, as I was saying. So you stand up. As I was saying, I gave Kamala and Crooked Joe a world at peace, and their weakness and incompetence quickly brought us to the brink of a global war. America cannot survive for 4 more years of this bumbling communist lunatic. Look, we cannot let her win this election. It's not a question of me. We can't let her win this election. If she wins this election, we're not going to have a country anymore. Starting on day one, we will bring competence and common sense back to the Oval Office. You know, we're really a party of common sense, if you think. We're conservative and all that, but we're really a party of common sense. And by the way, we have a great libertarian with us tonight. Where is our libertarian friend? And I think he's going to be with us. Where is he? What a nice guy. Stand up, please. Stand up. What a nice guy. What a nice guy. A lot of us are libertarian. And I think he's going to be giving you a very nice surprise very soon. But he's a great, wonderful person. And we just met, and we knew each other a little bit from before. Thank you very much for being here. How do you like the audience? Not bad. Do you think the libertarians get this kind of an audience? I don't think so. But thank you. Great honor to know you. Thank you very much. but we'll bring back safety, security, and the American dream bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. If you want a preview of what a catastrophe, another term of Kamala will be, and she was there, she was working with him. She was the border czar. Now she doesn't say she's the border czar. She said, I was never the border czar. I mean, everything they did, she's taking away now, but she was the border czar. She was the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border like this that allows millions and millions of people in a month from mental institutions and prisons, let them come into our country. Just look at who she chose for her vice president. She went with the hand-picked candidate of crazy Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders wanted him so badly, and the Democratic Socialists of America immediately gave him the endorsement. Forget him. That's her thinking. That's where she's going to go. You know, a politician, when they came out, if Steve Daines came out and said 20 years ago when he started, I wanted to fund the police. I don't think he's saying that. I wanted to fund the police, everybody. Then he said, well, I was only kidding. I don't. The truth is, when you come out with a statement like that, that's where you are. And she wants to defund the police, and she wants to have all of your guns taken away. She wants your guns taken away. You can count on it. A politician, their first statement, Steve, is always the statement. Now, Steve said, I'm going to protect your Second Amendment. That was a long time ago. He said, I'm going to take care of our police. Right, Steve? I just don't want to leave any question in their mind, Steve. He's so happy I did that little second part. He said, oh, my God, they might think I want to defund. No, Steve is he's not a big defunder. He's an increaser for the police. We want to take care of our police. They're doing a great job, right? As Minnesota's Governor Tim Walz let rioters and looters burn down Minneapolis. Remember CNN? They're right back there. Watch. Oh, there goes their light. Their light just went off. While the governor's wife opened the windows to the mansion to enjoy the smell of the fire, she said, the smell is so beautiful. I love it. I wonder where she's coming from. Walz said that socialism is just another word for neighborliness. She wants to be, he calls them neighbors, good neighbors. He signed a bill to give illegal aliens free health care. He abolished Columbus Day. He ordered tampons to be put into boys' bathrooms. Do we have any children here? Please close your ears. He ordered tampons in boys' bathrooms, okay? He signed a law letting the state kidnap children to change their gender so that they go home. But I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about her. This is her ideology. That's why she picked him. And he signed a bill allowing pedophiles to claim human rights protections under the state law. And then he said, by the way, J.D. Vance is doing a phenomenal job. But then he said, well, think of that. Think of the things I just said. Then he said, you know, I think J.D. Vance is weird. You know, it's a word that they use. I think he calls me that, too. No, we're not. We're very solid people. We want to have strong borders. We want to have good elections. We want to have low interest rates. We want to be able to buy a house. We want great education. We want strong borders. I think we're I think we're the opposite of weird. They're weird. You know what they do? They work with the press on coming up with a soundbite, just a soundbite. And every station that night, all the networks, CBS, and ABC, NBC, they all said, oh, they were called weird. It's unbelievable. You know, it's not a word that's really used too much in politics, but it's a terrible thing that they can do this. It's just a soundbite. No, J.D. Vance is a great patriot, and he's a United States Marine, and he's a real Marine, and he's a brilliant guy. And he went to Ohio State. He graduated in 2 years at the top of his class, just about at the top of his class. And he then got into Yale, and he became a Marine. He got into Yale, and he did great at Yale. And he met his wife, who was actually, I think, the #1 student at Yale. They have a smart family. And we picked somebody that was very special. And he's really He's really stepped up. I said, you got your sea legs, you know, because the first day they were hitting him with a lot of nonsense. And he's got his sea legs now. He's going to be great. I think don't we like him? And he's for the working man and woman. Tim Walz is the man who's very freakish. He's very freakish. If Comrade Walz and Comrade Harris win this November, the people cheering will be the pink-haired Marxists, the looters, the perverts, the flag burners, Hamas supporters, drug dealers, gun grabbers, and human traffickers. But with a Trump fans' victory, the cheers will come from the police officers, the firefighters, the Border Patrol agents, the steel workers, small business owners, parents, and hardworking citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. And that's what we're doing. We're getting record numbers in the Hispanic community, record numbers in so many different communities. Nobody's ever actually seen. You know, this is the greatest movement in the history of our country. You do know that. Remember they used to say, no, MAGA's a good solid 35% of the party. No, it's 95% of the party, not 35. They used to say that. You know, they're very cunning people. Oh, MAGA's 35, and it was 35, really? No, it's 95% of the party, and I think it's probably 90%. I think the whole country. Who can want, think of it, who wants open borders? Who wants men playing in women's sports? And I'd like to congratulate the young woman who transitioned from a man into a boxer. You saw she won the gold medal. How about the young beautiful Italian boxer? She got in there and she didn't know what was going on, and she was a very good boxer, you know, against other women. She didn't count on this. And he's up here, boom, one little jab, whoa. She goes, nobody ever hit me that way. Then he goes, boom, and she said, okay, I had enough. It's crazy what they're doing. And this person won the gold medal. Did they win the gold medal today? What do you think of that, Tim? I don't think Tim likes it. Greg, no good, right? Now, how crazy is it? How crazy is it? For 4 more years, and she wants it. She wants men to play in women's sports. She wants to take away your guns. All of the stuff. And now she's going to deny it. Watch. She'll come out with a statement. She'll deny it. And remember one thing. I'm going to say it again later because it's so important. No tax on tips. Do we like that? And they're just the opposite. They're driving people crazy. And our senior citizens, we're not going to have them pay tax any longer on Social Security. Okay? Those two things. 4 more years of crazy Kamala Harris means probably it means 50 million illegal aliens pouring into our country over another 4 years. 50 million could be 50 million more. They're overrunning our country. They're destroying our country. They're ruining our country, and they're making our country very unsafe. These are very tough people. These are criminals coming out of jails. These are people that are tough. The only good thing about them is they make our criminals look like weak sisters. That's it. These are really tough, nasty people. And we can't have it. You know, we all have a heart, but we can't have it. It means double-digit inflation decimating your savings, and your savings are being decimated. I know what you're going through. It means violent crime ripping through the suburbs. You know, they talk about women. I think suburban women like me a lot. You know, it's fake stuff. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? You know, I put something in when I was president. There will be no low-income housing developments built in areas that are right next to your house. You have a house in the suburbs. You're so proud. And then they want to build a low-income job with a 30-story building next to your house. And your house is worthless. And I stopped it. And then they say, well, I don't think suburban women like them. I think they like me. I'm going to keep criminals out of your neighborhood. That's really all that matters. I think they like me anyway. You're not going to have migrant criminals preying on our women and our girls while guns are confiscated from the law-abiding citizens. They want to take away your guns, and then they want to have our country overrun with some of the worst criminals there are anywhere in the world. And they come from all over the world. They come from Africa. They come from Asia. They come from the Middle East. They come from all over. A large boatload came recently from the Congo. Where do you come from? Where in the Congo? Prison. What did you do wrong? We do not want to say. Murder. It was murder. And they're dumping them into our country. You know the money they're saving, these other countries? Their prison population is way down. The money they're saving is, they've never had it so good. And if I were running any of those countries, if I were running Colombia, if I were running Brazil, I'd be doing the same thing, but I'd be doing it faster than they're doing it. Why wouldn't you do it? It's common sense. Dump all of your criminals. You know, in Venezuela, crime is down 72%. You know why? Because he took all of the criminals out of Caracas and out of all the cities. He took all of them out and dumped them into the United States. He emptied his prisons into the United States of America. Why are we taking this? Why do we take this? Why? So don't take my word for it. Listen. Kamala Harris's agenda straight from her own mouth. Would anybody like to see her? Let's do it for a couple of seconds. Go ahead.
Former President Donald Trump speaking in Bozeman, Montana last night at a late night rally. We brought you a bunch of it. It was a very long speech out there in Bozeman last night. Taking a quick break here on Live Now from Fox. When we come back, going to take a look at the remnants of first hurricane, then tropical storm Debbie, and the rain and flooding up in parts of New York and Pennsylvania as she moved off into Canada and out to sea. So taking a quick break, back after this. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Keith Landry. We're taking a live look right now at our XRAD radar. You can see what is left, the remnants of first hurricane and then tropical storm Debbie moving out to sea off Canada and the northern Atlantic. By the way, Fox weather meteorologists keeping an eye on the Caribbean this weekend for possible developments. We'll keep you posted on that as we move through the weekend. But getting back to Debbie for a second here, the remnants from hurricane and then tropical storm Debbie claimed an 8th victim yesterday as those heavy rains pounded the Northeast and with flooding in parts of New York and Pennsylvania on Friday. Fox News correspondent Caroline Shively has more on the damage Debbie left behind.
Debbie continues to spread misery up and down the eastern seaboard. The storm hit Florida as a Category 1 hurricane Monday before heading north, dumping rain and spinning off tornadoes along the way.
We're just praying that we don't get any more rain.
While some tropical systems are the hit-and-run types, Debbie is the lingering kind, predicted to stick around through the weekend before crawling back into the Atlantic. South Carolina is coping with widespread flooding, while a tornado took out trees and knocked out power in parts of Delaware.
My cat, Charlie,
Yeah, it
he
just
went
means
through
while
the
at
air
work.
and landed somewhere out in the street.
Your cat?
Yeah, he got.
Is he okay?
He's an outdoor cat. He's tough.
In Maryland, the streets of Annapolis were turned into rivers on Friday.
And as NOAA predicted, this is going to be a more active than normal hurricane season. This is the first tropical storm, first hurricane for us this season. So with the water conditions, this may not be the last.
Debbie is now aiming for Vermont, where President Biden has approved an emergency declaration in a state still recovering from last month's floods from Hurricane Beryl.
The remnants of Hurricane Beryl flooded out Vermont, and much of the Northeast is likely to get another slug of precipitation from Hurricane Debbie.
The National Weather Service is now predicting between 17 and 24 named storms this season, with the potential impacts felt far from the coast. In Alexandria, Virginia, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
Thank you, Caroline, for the latest on that. And we are taking a live look at XRAD again. Fox Weather, Fox meteorologists keeping an eye on the Caribbean for possible development there. They're watching a system that is developing, and they will keep an eye on that through the weekend as what's left of Debbie moves out to sea now. We are going to take our last break of the hour here on Live Now from Fox. When we come back, we'll have the latest on very sad situation. A deputy killed in the line of duty just north of Orlando. They will have the funeral for him today. We'll have the latest on that on the other side of the break. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. Coming up on 10 o'clock on the East Coast, 7 o'clock out west. Remembrance today in Central Florida, north of Orlando. You're looking at 28-year-old Master Deputy Bradley Link. He was killed in the line of duty last Friday night. His funeral service will be held this morning at 11 at the Real Life Christian Church in Claremont. Master Deputy Sheriff Bradley going into a house. He was ambushed and shot multiple times by a man inside the house. A SWAT team went in to try to rescue him, but he was pronounced dead at a local hospital. Our colleagues at Fox 35 Orlando are covering this story extensively this morning. Let's listen in now.
Now back to today's story. Family, friends, and a community all gathering to remember fallen hero master Deputy Bradley Link. He was killed in the line of duty just 1 week ago, all responding to a call. Fox 35's Matt Trezza is live outside the funeral home in Lake County early this morning. Matt, good morning. A sad day for people in that community, and a procession's going to begin there in just a few hours.
Yeah, that's right. So we're at the funeral home in Claremont where the procession is set to start at around 9:30 this morning. It should be at the church for the memorial service about 30 minutes later, together with family and more than 100 law enforcement motorcycles along with it escorting it. Master Deputy Bradley Link was just 28 years old and started as a young explorer in high school before joining the sheriff's office in 2019. He responded to a disturbance call in Eustis last Friday. When deputies entered the home, they were met with a hail of gunfire. Link was shot and trapped inside the house. He was later rushed to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. 2 more deputies were also shot during that ambush in Eustis and were sent to HCA Florida Lake Monroe Hospital for treatment. First responders across Central Florida are left dealing with the loss.
This event, I need to say, is unlike other traumatic events. This is, law enforcement is a family, and so this is losing one of one's brothers or sisters. So this is something that is very critical for us to be part of.
The governor has ordered flags here in Claremont to be flown at half staff in honor of Master Deputy Link, and we're going to have our special coverage of the procession and the memorial service starting at 10 a.m. We're live in Claremont. Matt Trezza, Fox 35 News.
All right, Matt, thank you so much. You know, we have covered every angle of this deadly ambush. Fox 35's Garrett Weimer now breaking down the timeline of what happened on that tragic night.
Last Friday evening at 7:45, Lake County deputies received a call claiming the suspect, Julie Solpizio, was assaulting her neighbors. Deputies arrived shortly after and talked with the suspect and her neighbors. They became concerned for the suspect's husband, who was in their home with their 2 daughters. At 8:10, deputies heard 4 loud bangs coming from the suspect's home. They saw a screen missing and believed a crime was underway. At 9:03, Deputy Link and Deputy Howell and others make an announcement and enter through a back door into the laundry room leading to a hallway. When Deputy Link enters the hallway, he's shot multiple times in the back. Deputy Howell shot in the wrist. He's able to retreat from the home, but Deputy Link remains inside. According to his body-worn camera, Deputy Link attempts to crawl, but can't. Deputies call out his name on the radio. He attempts to answer, but was unsuccessful. He appears to be shot more times. At 9:26, the SWAT team arrives on scene to get Deputy Link out of the house. Deputy Gargano and others enter the house. Gargano shot multiple times through the wall, taken to the hospital in critical condition. At 11:02, Deputy Link is pulled from the house and taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead.
All right, that was our Fox 35 Orlando team with their coverage there. Now, I do want to remind you, as Keith has been telling you all throughout the morning, that we are going to have live coverage of that funeral here with the help, of course, of our Fox 35 Orlando team. That is starting at 11 a.m. Eastern time, so in just about an hour here on LiveNOW from Fox. And as you heard, our Fox 35 Orlando team has been all over this story. They've been filing reports from each and every angle.
This is going to be an event that's going to affect people for quite a period of time.
Dr. Deborah Beidel heads UCF Restores, which has a partnership with the Lake County Sheriff's Office.
UCF Restores is a clinical research center that is dedicated to changing how we think about trauma and how we treat trauma.
They headed out the moment they got the call from the Sheriff's Office about the deadly ambush last Friday to support the deputies and help them grieve.
There's a lot of heads hung low here.
It isn't just deputies who need support right now, though. All first responders in Lake County were affected by this.
One of the assailants grabbed the radio and transmitted what was happening throughout the county.
The International Association of Firefighters came in to help, too. They stopped by all 38 fire stations across the county to provide mental health support.
We try to make sure there's no anxiety or anything that could develop by them just not speaking about the call and what went down.
When I tell you this agency is hurting, we're hurting, but we're going to get through this.
And again, a big thank you there to our Fox 35 Orlando team. Now, I do want to remind you that this is all going to get underway in just about an hour. But if you haven't been following this story from the get-go, Lake County, Florida, preparing for the funeral services for Master Deputy Bradley Link, who was killed in an ambush 1 week ago yesterday. The funeral doesn't signify that deputies here are turning a page. Obviously, they are still struggling. Several mental health agencies stepping in to help. As we just heard, Dr. Deborah Bedell, who leads UCF Restores, emphasized the lasting impact of the tragedy overall. Sheriff Peyton Grinnell has acknowledged the deep emotional toll the ambush has taken on his agency. Now, according to Claudine Buzo of the International Association of Firefighters, support is not limited to the deputies. All first responders in Lake County, Florida, were affected by the situation that did play out. We also know that shirts are being sold and proceeds will go to the FSDA's Lend a Hand program, which will distribute money to the families affected by that ambush. Rowan reported that they've already raised about $30,000 working around the clock. Again, fallen Deputy Bradley Link will be honored in a ceremony that is expected to start in just about an hour. You can watch it all right here on LiveNOW from Fox. In the meantime, I do want to talk about some of the other big stories that we are covering at this hour, and I do want to get to the latest coming in out of Israel. We have had Jeff Paul, who is with Fox News, following the latest on the ground, and he just filed this report for us.
As the U.S., Egypt, and Qatar push for Israel and Hamas to return to the negotiating table, Israeli forces launched a new assault in southern Gaza. The IDF says troops are targeting Hamas terrorists who are hiding out in the ruins of war-torn neighborhoods. An Israeli airstrike also killed a senior Hamas commander in the Lebanese port city of Sidon. The intensified fighting is once again pushing thousands in Han Yunis to evacuate.
We are tired of this life. By God, we are fed up. Death is better than this.
As Israel braces for a major attack from Iran and its proxies, Hezbollah and Israeli forces continue to exchange fire. The ongoing fighting along the Israel-Lebanon border only further complicates efforts to de-escalate.
Now it's a psychological war more than a normal war. It's just a psychological one. Nothing will happen, God willing. The war will not happen.
Despite multiple reports indicating pressure from the U.S. is causing Iran to rethink its retaliatory attack on Israel, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard released new footage of new cruise missiles. The White House says it's taking threats from Iran seriously and is committed to helping defend Israel.
We're also working at the same time in the diplomatic space to try to de-escalate the tensions and to prevent any major escalation of the conflict there in the region.
When it comes to this next round of negotiations, we know Israel has agreed to send a delegation next Thursday. However, Hamas is reportedly still studying the new proposal, but the White House says Qatar has assured them they'll work to get them there. In Tel Aviv, Israel, Jeff Paul, Fox News.
All right, Jeff, thank you so much for that report. And I do want to get back to the latest details out of the Middle East right now. That is a live look over Haifa in Israel, as Israel is preparing for an impending attack by Iran, and at the same time, the U.S. working to combat its own problems with Tehran. A major tech company revealing Iran is targeting the American presidential election with cyber attacks and fake news. In a new report, Microsoft says hackers linked to Iran's Revolutionary Guard targeted a high-ranking official at an unnamed U.S. presidential campaign in a phishing attack and tried to log into the account of a former presidential candidate. The company's report states Iranian actors have spent months creating fake news sites and impersonating activists, laying the groundwork to cause division and sway American voters, especially in the swing states. Microsoft details go beyond anything that U.S. intelligence has ever disclosed, giving specific examples of Iranian groups and the actions they've taken. That is just one of the latest developments, and I do want to talk about it all, so let's bring in a friend of the show here, Ben Talablu, Senior Fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to be here with us today.
Great to be with you, Josh. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, first off, I do want to talk to you about this Iranian cyber attack situation. The information that we know is coming in from a report released by Microsoft on Friday. Is that any surprise that Iran could potentially be trying to influence the U.S. election?
It's a great question. Unfortunately, it's no surprise, but what it is in fact quite damning, particularly how far they attempted to go with the email phishing bit that you mentioned, trying to get into the account or try to feign or use the credentials to log into the account of even a former candidate for president of the United States. This most recent story, speaking about the actions of Microsoft's, I think, Threat Action Network Center, it's basically the one that monitors internet safety for them here, has talked about email phishing, account spoofing, and tons of websites with disinformation and misinformation being pushed to basically act as real news sites to push not just narrative, but to push invective and misinformation into the hands of American voters. As you know, this story builds on something that we may have been discussing, I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago, which is that the preference of the Islamic Republic of Iran to not have President Trump return to the presidency in 2025. What this one shows is that the regime is also going back to some of its tried and true tactics from 2018 and 2019, when Facebook and Microsoft then identified a rise in account spoofing and also a rise in website creation designed to amplify certain narratives because they believed they correlated with a certain foreign policy disposition. And what they're touching on are race issues, are domestic issues, are economic issues, and even kind of the future of American foreign policy issues. Because when Americans fight each other, whether from the left to the right or the right to the left, it's the Ayatollahs, it's Putin, it's the CCP who wins.
It sounds as though Iran does not want former President Trump to be reelected. Why might that be the case?
Well, in my view, that's certainly the case at the systemic level, meaning post-2025, they don't want that. But you've also seen them try to drive to the right to spoof accounts there as well. So no side of the American political system is immune to the kind of tactics and tradecraft that we're seeing from persistent threat actors tied to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and their hackers for hire. But to the big political question, it's absolutely because there's a huge contrast, Ron, between President Trump and the Democrat that came before him on Iran policy, President Obama, and the Democrat that came after him, who is the current U.S. president, and that's President Joe Biden. The president, in about a year and a half time, was able to recreate the same macroeconomic damage that about a decade of multilateral sanctions took. Former President Trump killed the regime's chief terrorist, Qasem Soleimani. This is a huge psychological blow that the regime is yet to recover from. President Trump broke something of a taboo in Washington, ended a decade-long debate in this town about designating the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in its entirety as a terrorist organization. Now even Canada has done that as well. And perhaps most importantly, in the various iterations of boom and bust cycles of Iranian protests, President Trump also broke a major taboo about standing with the Iranian people. He proved that that would not be the kiss of death. And for all of these, and I think many other reasons as it relates to regional security, let alone track record on the nuclear issue, the regime does not want someone who has been touting maximum pressure and maximum support to be back in the White House.
And what you're looking at there on the left side of your screen is a live look over Haifa in Israel, one of the cities there that, of course, is on alert and has been now for more than a week, concerned that Iran is going to launch a major attack on Israel. A lot of folks, a lot of experts have said that that attack is, quote unquote, imminent. Does that, in your expert opinion, appear to still be the case?
I do believe it is imminent, but lest we forget the distance between when the regime had one of its assets last attack in Syria in April 1st. It took about 12, 13 days for the regime to coordinate the logistics and telegraph the messages that it wanted to, and it responded militarily on April 13th and April 14th. If you take the same timeline, that means the attack can come within the next 2 to 3 days. But that's not any kind of a prediction. That's just using the past trend line. The regime also would be seen as preparing to take some of these actions, taking missiles out of storage, moving rail launchers and transporter erector launchers all around the country, moving drones around, perhaps increased communications activity. These are all things that at least U.S. intelligence could pick up or from a satellite perspective could detect. But I do believe this is still very much a matter of when and not if. even though we know that the Jordanian foreign minister has gone to Iran, that Iranian officials have been having regional consultations with some folks in the neighborhood, and that even allegedly Russian President Putin has called for a more limited response by the Iranians and the not targeting of Israeli civilians.
One of the things that I've heard a lot, especially over the last days as well, is that many people do believe, U.S. officials, Israeli officials, that it could actually be Hezbollah that does launch a major attack on Israel prior to Iran. We know that Hezbollah is a proxy of Iran. So does that still mean that Iran is attacking Israel if Hezbollah does?
You know, any of the 360-degree, multi-dimensional, multi-layered proxy indirect firepower that the Israeli state has taken is in some way, yes, in my view, attributable to the Islamic Republic of Iran. There is no shortage of Iranian-provided weaponry in the region. If you remember, part of the cycle of violence that begat this escalation was the use of a single piece of rocket-propelled artillery that killed 12 children in northern Israel in Majd al-Shams. That was a basic Iranian artillery rocket. Nothing too fancy, nothing precision-guided, about shorter range, about 10 to 12 kilometers, depending on where it's fired from. This is the kind of stuff that the weaponry that the regime has proliferated into the hands of multiple different actors. So regardless of the direction and regardless of the actor, these are capabilities and threats and cycles of violence brought to you by the Islamic Republic. And it's important to be able to attribute that to the source so that proper policy can be made.
We've heard about some weapons transfers involving Iran and Russia. A lot of stories about that have been circulating over the past, really, several days here. What do we know about the, I guess, validity of all of that? Because Iran has come out and said that's not what's happening, but we know Iran isn't necessarily going to tell the truth about that. So what do we know?
You know, potentially, Josh, what we've seen since the erosion of the 2020 arms embargo and 2023 missile testing, missile transfer prohibitions, both of which were at the UN level and could have been stopped from lapsing. And what we know is that the Islamic Republic has actually been more overt about its weapons transfers. And in fact, you're seeing an evolution right now from a state that has been proliferating weapon systems to non-state actors to a state that is interested in transferring or selling weapon systems to state actors. You know, Iranian drones right now can be found on 4 different continents. That's a bit of a game changer, if you ask me. There's an Iranian element in many of these conflicts, be it Sudan, Ethiopia, Venezuela, and some even allege North Korea, let alone the Russia-Ukraine conflict. What we hear about the specific missile element of the transfer is that this was the other shoe waiting to drop since 2022. There was reporting initially back in 2022 that short-range ballistic missiles, these are things that can go up to 1,000 kilometers actually, probably 700 kilometers, would be transferred to Russia. There was no battlefield evidence, there was no intelligence evidence. But then early this year in 2024, word is reported that the transfer had gone through. Indeed, still, there was no battlefield evidence and there was no, intelligence that was publicized. However, now we're having Reuters in the summer of 2024 say that the transfer of not short-range ballistic missiles, but the transfer of close-range ballistic missiles, that means projectiles that fly under 300 kilometers, is basically going to be imminent. And these are actually the systems that the regime has been using in the region much more so. It was actually a close-range ballistic missile in the fall of 2022. That was the first time ever that the Islamic Republic used this to kill an American citizen in northern Iraq. The U.S. has still not responded to that. So these are still very lethal systems, despite having a shorter range. And in my view, if the Russians do get these, this would keep them in the fight longer and offset some of the other precision strike systems like the ATACMS, like the Storm Shadow, things that the U.S. and the U.K. has respectively tried to provide the Ukrainians to hold onto their territory as well as push back against where the Russians are occupying their territory. So again, no battlefield evidence, a slightly different kind of system, a slightly different kind of threshold, but is proof that the Islamic Republic, for 1.5 to 2 decades now, the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence, has been saying is home to the largest ballistic missile arsenal in the Middle East. What this story attests to, and what the widening radius of Iranian arms proliferation attests to, is that these weapons don't stay in the Middle East. And it would be a mistake to quarantine it or think that it would forever be remain there.
There are so many concerns, and this really isn't anything new overall, but concerns about nuclear weapons, things of that nature. And I do want to talk about that Wall Street Journal report that just came out, because Essentially what we're hearing and what we have heard over the past several years, maybe even decades, is that Iran is fairly close to being able to develop a nuclear weapon. Just based on your expertise, does that appear to be the case?
Unfortunately, yes. And when you look at what the regime had in terms of its previous quest to develop a nuclear fait accompli before it was caught in 2002 and 2003, it has since then layered on a whole host of arguments, excuses, diplomatic agreements, and civilian veneers for a program that was always military in its orientation and in its get-go. And recently, based on what the ODNI, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, has been reporting, and prior to that, the kind of media frenzy that Senator Graham had created last week, pointing to this evolving threat assessment that is kind of operating in the background here by the Director of National Intelligence, is that the U.S. intelligence community isn't coming out with the same level of linguistic certitude that the regime is not moving towards a nuclear weapons capability. They have rolled back some of that language, and instead they have brought forward examples or evidence of knowledge-based nuclear activities, whether that's enrichment at higher levels, stockpiling different quantities, using more advanced centrifuges, tunneling deeper, you name it. These are basically the ingredients that go into a larger cocktail that we call a nuclear weapons program. And for too long, I think, in my view, the fiction of the debate of the 2015 Iran nuclear deal, that, oh no, this has always been civilian, or oh no, that diplomacy can nullify this, has been operating in the background. And now, as we're talking about evolving Iranian weapons capabilities, we're talking about the regime once again about to fire ballistic missiles, weapons of war, weapons that could potentially carry even a nuclear warhead at the Jewish state. We need to put our eyes on this threat that's been inching along in the background, particularly because we have some drama right now in Democratic Party politics between the switch with President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, with Kamala now being the top of the ticket for the DNC that we're about to go into, the Democratic National Convention, as well as the regime thinking that America might be distracted either with the convention or either with the election between now and November, or with the lame duck period November to January, to move forward and make more critical advances. So in my view, the regime is on the cusp of being a threshold capacity state. And that's why this year you've had multiple Iranian officials talk about this being a capability that they could move towards at a time of their choosing, that this is really a matter of political will, not lack of technical capability.
Ben Talablu, I feel like I could talk to you forever because there are so many topics and so many questions, but got to wrap this up, of course. Is there anything else that you want to add before I let you go?
I would just say, keep your eyes on this larger evolving Iran-Israel war. There's something very dangerous here. And this thesis is what the regime is pushing, which is that it can now engage in a limited war directly against Israel, a limited war indirectly via proxies, and even a limited war indirectly against America, while preventing you, America, Israel, whomever, from engaging in a limited war against it. And now that we're on the cusp of a potentially second overt, direct, kinetic attack from Iran against Israel, it shows that the policy that we've had that led us to this point, in my view, has been a failure.
All right. Thank you again for being here with us today. As always, we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, you are taking a live look right here over at the skyline of New York City. Coming up in just a couple minutes after this quick commercial break, we're going to head out there as we talk with Stephanie Bertini over at Fox 5 New York. She's going to break down the latest, as we do know that what was once Hurricane Debbie, then Tropical Storm Debbie, dumped a lot of rain and brought a lot of wind. She's going to break all of that down for us here in just a matter of minutes. Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox. The time 10:23 on the East Coast and 7:23 on the West Coast. You are taking a live look at our XRAD radar system, and it has been very busy over the past couple days. But as you're seeing there, that is the remnants of Debbie, not much left. However, if you were along the East Coast, you saw those impacts, including a lot of flooding, a lot of rain that was coming down, and some wind. Do want to bring in Stephanie Bertini with our Fox 5 New York station. She has more on what that area did see with those storms. Stephanie, as always, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Well, thanks for having me. How you doing?
Doing great. So you're probably doing pretty well, too, because outside it looks a lot better than it did yesterday. I know that we had Robert Moses with your team, and his hair, which is normally perfect, was blowing all over the place. How are things looking now?
So first of all, yes, I'm doing much better because I, like other New Yorkers, am inviting the sunshine today. We got sun in the forecast for the next several days. Very different than what we've been dealing with throughout most of the week. Look, you talk about Robert Moses' hair. Yesterday, I said on the air to our anchors here on Fox Local, I've definitely had better hair days on the air. Last night, I was reporting at LaGuardia Airport. We saw serious delays at all our airports yesterday, but really it amounted to New York City and the state actually really escaping what we feared earlier in the week and what Debbie proved. Josh.
Yeah, for sure. And we do have this video. I'm working to pop it up for you so you can see just some of the impacts here. I know that there were several reporters that we talked to with Fox 5 New York as well as our other affiliates. But take a look at this right here. This is actually a tree that fell on a car. And it's not great. You know, it's not what you want to see. Obviously, we do know that these things tend to happen. Storms come through there. But do you tend to see storms like this on a regular basis?
So that video there, I actually was live there at 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock yesterday, and then I moved to LaGuardia. It was a busy day yesterday. So I actually saw that live and then brought it to the viewers live on television. Look, definitely not what you want to see. Queens is the section of New York City that saw a lot of wind as we dealt with Debbie moving through. And we saw some uprooted trees like the one that you showed there in the video. We saw some other damages in other parts of New York City. We had some downed wires, some power outages were reported. But overall, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. I always say, you know, Mother Nature is so unpredictable. The governor of New York issued a state of emergency, and there was some more severe weather in other parts of the state. Overall, you know, here in the city, I think people are used to anything coming your way. You know, as a New Yorker, you're kind of ready for anything, but we don't see those types of windstorms, for example, what we saw yesterday all the time. But of course, where we are in the country, severe weather, especially in the winter, is a probability. So I think New Yorkers are ready for that. Still, I think they're fed up from all the rain they've had the last couple of days. You know, before that, we just had scorching hot days back to back. So I think what people are saying is, look, we just want the sunshine, a little cooler in the evening, you know, that northeast summer weather. That's what people want.
For sure. I think that's what everyone wants. And I'm located over in Florida. I know that is definitely what I want. Stephanie Bertini there with Fox 5 New York. Thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to be here with us and break it all down.
Of course, my pleasure. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you. And we are going to take you back to this live image that we do have, the skyline over in beautiful New York City. It looks like a much better day, as Stephanie was saying. Hopefully, things do stay that way. Do want to head to a quick break now at 10:27 on the East Coast and 7:27 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and I'm here for the next several hours to bring you all of your top stories and live events from across the country and across the world. Again, let's head to that quick break, but we'll be right back with more coverage on the other side. Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox, 10:30 on the dot over on the East Coast and 7:30 on the West Coast. Do want to take you back to what we were talking about before the break. That is what was once Hurricane Debbie, then Tropical Storm Debbie, eventually post-Cyclone Debbie. And what you're looking at right now is our radar that shows really just the remnants at this point, but it did leave a lot of flooding across the area. Do want to take you out to Caroline Shively with Fox News, who breaks down just some of the video.
Debbie continues to spread misery up and down the eastern seaboard. The storm hit Florida as a Category 1 hurricane Monday before heading north, dumping rain and spinning off tornadoes along the way.
We're just praying that we don't get any more rain.
While some tropical systems are the hit-and-run types, Debbie is the lingering kind, predicted to stick around through the weekend before crawling back into the Atlantic. South Carolina is coping with widespread flooding, while a tornado took out trees and knocked out power in parts of Delaware.
My cat, Charlie, he went through the air and landed somewhere out in the street.
Your cat?
Yeah, he got.
Is he okay?
He's an outdoor cat. He's tough.
In Maryland, the streets of Annapolis were turned into rivers on Friday.
And as NOAA predicted, this is going to be a more active than normal hurricane season. This is the first tropical storm, first hurricane for us this season. So with the water conditions, this may not be the last.
Debbie is now aiming for Vermont, where President Biden has approved an emergency declaration in a state still recovering from last month's floods from Hurricane Beryl.
The remnants of Hurricane Beryl flooded out Vermont, and much of the Northeast is likely to get another slug of precipitation from Hurricane Debbie.
The National Weather Service is now predicting between 17 and 24 named storms this season, with the potential impacts felt far from the coast. In Alexandria, Virginia, Caroline,
thank you so much. And what you're looking at is just some of the video that we showed you yesterday as you had that extensive flooding across Annapolis, Maryland. We do continue to cover the mess left behind by the remnants of Debbie. I'm watching right now because it looks like this video has a kayaker who is just trying to make it through the water there. The capital city, Annapolis, and those live pictures almost kind of unreal to see. Do want to bring in Annapolis Mayor Gavin Buckley joining us live to discuss the situation and how things have changed. Mayor, thank you so much for being here with us this morning.
And thank you. Thanks for covering Annapolis.
Of course. Well, first off, the big question here, kind of walk me through what the situation overall has been like there in Annapolis as Debbie was approaching and then now.
Well, I was down there yesterday at 6 a.m. and there were waves that were white capping over the bulkhead. A lot of water in the streets on our main shopping street at the waterfront called Dock Street that was completely inundated. And then we had to eventually close off Compromise Street, which was our second main entry into the city, right where the Eastport Bridge is. So that was shut down. But this morning, when I got there at 6 a.m., it's completely dry. People are now parked in all those parking spaces where people are paddling, and Annapolis is back to business.
The photos, as I mentioned, the photos, the video, all of it just seems kind of unreal. So is flooding this extensive something that Annapolis is used to? Do you see this very often?
We had a study done, an independent study done on the city in 2017 and I think it's 2017 and 18, one by NOAA and one by Stanford University. The NOAA study said that Annapolis experiences some of the highest sunny day flooding in America. So our waterfront in our historic town gets the most flooding of nearly any city in the country. And that was an alarming statistic. And then the Stanford study talked about the millions of dollars of economic impact that has on us detrimentally. So, you know, since I've come to office, we've worked on a short-term plan. The short-term plan worked this morning because the pumps that we put in, the storm drains, managed to put all that water back into the bay. And so the streets were dry. But we have a big plan, a big $100 million plan that will raise City Dock and protect the city against the next Hurricane Isabel, which was our worst flooding event. But we had our third worst flooding event in January. So it's not just about sea level rise anymore. It's really about, you know, catastrophic weather events. What sort of water is going to get pushed up the Chesapeake Bay and then into this state capital?
And then, of course, it's still early on, all of this just happening, but is there any word on the extent of any damage that might have happened as a result?
I mean, we had wind damage, and then I would say that those businesses that you can see on the video, a lot of them will have some trouble getting reopened. I saw some of them reopen this morning. They know the drill, those businesses. They have these kind of dam systems that they deploy when they need to, and then they come out and they man their shops. And it's got to be soul destroying after a while to continually have to deal with floods. So we've reduced the number of sunny day flooding for these businesses down from an average of over 50 to around about a dozen. But when those things happen, and you're just a small business owner and you're just trying to make a living, it surely must get you down and be hard to sort of keep your chin up.
When you hear that a major storm like Debbie, once a Category 1 hurricane when it made landfall, kind of going out to the Atlantic and then coming back up, what goes through your mind when you hear that it is headed in your direction? How far in advance can the preparations from the city there really begin?
I mean, we have an amazing emergency management team here, and we know the drill. And so we had our teams out giving out sandbags to the public days beforehand. We had the teams out handing out flyers to each of the businesses to make them aware of what was coming. And then we had our street sweepers in the street last night and this morning, making sure that all the debris were cleared away so we could reopen the city. It's a busy weekend for us. It's Parents' Weekend, so lots of the midshipman parents are in town visiting their kids after their first year at the academy, or in their first year of the academy, the first time they can see them. So yesterday, those parents saw a lake at City Dock, and then today they just see a completely normal parking lot that is there. But eventually we're going to take that parking lot, we're going to raise it 6 feet, and we're going to make it a barrier against this flooding, and we're going to get a great public space back, but also we're going to get protection.
And my last question here before I let you go, do you advise against kayaking through the streets of Annapolis when there is a flood?
I would say that I've done that myself. We do try to discourage people from coming down and just watching things. And there were high winds yesterday, so it was a little bit dangerous. Flags were coming out of their sockets, and some signs were blown down, and definitely branches came down. So we do advise against that, but I've done that kayaking. I've been up to several of the businesses to look in the window to see how many inches of water they have inside the buildings. And then I paddled directly across to the other side of the canal in the city, which is called Ego Alley, to look in the businesses on that side to see how much water is in there. This morning, our damage assessment teams went to all the businesses individually to check on them to make sure they're okay and see if they're ready to open. So we're on the job, but this is going to be a thing of the past for the city. It's going to take us about 2 to 3 years to finish this $100 million improvement, but it's going to be an amazing finished product. And I think Annapolis is going to lead the way on resiliency in the country.
All right. Mayor Gavin Buckley, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us and discuss all of this. We do really appreciate it, and we're hopeful, that we won't see any more video like this coming out of that area. Is there anything else that you want to add, though, before I let you go?
I think, we all have to recognize that this is the reality. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. And that this stuff comes at a price, right? So, we've been clever to have a very creative project that has been eligible for a lot of federal funding. We work closely with the state and the county to make sure we can fund these things. But $100 million is not a little bit of money. The Naval Academy have finished the southeast corner of the academy, and it's a $36 million project, and it's about the size of a football field to make that corner resilient. They have a lot more to do, as we do. We've got 18 miles of coast in the city. This will sort of roughly button up, a little bit under a mile if you bring in the academy pieces, but still, we've got a lot to think about. We have a lot of water in Maryland, and that's what makes it so fantastic a place to live in. But also that water, is going to be one of our greatest threats. And we need to work out how we're going to find money to deal with that. And hopefully, we've created a great model here that other cities can look at.
All right, Mayor Buckley, thank you so much for taking the time to spend part of your day with us here. Glad that water has gone down, and hopefully there isn't too much damage. Thank you again for being here with us.
Well, appreciate you guys covering Annapolis. Thank you so much.
Of course. And I do want to take you out live once again to our XRAD radar system because, again, that's the remnants of Debbie. However, we are now watching a system that has an 80% chance of development. It's not showing up on our radar system just yet because it is so far out. But once it does develop, it could potentially become the next named storm Ernesto. We're going to keep an eye on all of that and bring you updates as they come in. Let's head to a quick break now at 10:41 on the East Coast and 7:41 on the West Coast. You're watching Live Now from Fox. Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox 1043 on the East Coast, and it is 743 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and I'm here to bring you all of your top stories and live events from across the country and across the world. As we mentioned, coming up here in just a matter of minutes, we are going to have the funeral service, the celebration of life taking place for a fallen Florida deputy. Master Deputy Bradley Link honored with a service there at Real Life Christian Church in Claremont. Do want to check in with our Fox 35 Orlando team as they are live out there right now.
The Lake County Sheriff's Office died in an ambush last weekend. He died protecting his fellow deputies as well. This is a scene from inside the Real Life Christian Church in Claremont, Florida. Hundreds, if not thousands, of fellow law enforcement officers gathered this morning to pay their respects with their loved ones as well. And before we take it live outside, I'd like to hear from the public information officer from Lake County Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant John Harrell, on his response to Master Deputy Bradley Link's fallen service. Take a listen to this.
A great personality. He was well loved, very well respected, and just a good deputy. Worked hard and served his community and his fellow deputies very well. So it's going to be a tremendous loss, and it's not going to be one that we're going to soon get over. All right. Back live now with James Copenhaver, former Brevard County
Sheriff's Deputy, Orange County Sheriff's Deputy, SWAT team member with Orange County. Do I have that right?
Was not in SWAT. I was in narcotics.
Narcotics?
Yes.
Apologies. I thought my notes said you were a part of the SWAT team. But you no doubt had times where you were on the front line, putting your own life at risk for the citizens of Orange and Brevard County. So you can appreciate what the local community is feeling at the moment.
Yeah, the community, I mean, it's just the point of love is amazing here, David. I mean, we were riding up here and I was actually seeing signs on the side of the road of just normal citizens that came out to do something to pay their respects to this deputy. So it's an amazing community.
Yeah, and throughout the week, we've been keeping close tabs on the two other deputies who took fire that weekend, last weekend. Stefano, the name's right here, Stefano Gargano and Harold Howell. Harold Howell, I know, walked out of the hospital this week with a thumbs up. He's home. Would you presume he's here?
Oh, guaranteed.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I know that Stefano Gargano has had 5 surgeries, still in the hospital, but we're told he's doing okay.
Yeah, and I even heard a couple local pastors yesterday was out front of the hospital, David, laying hands on the front door, praying for this critically injured deputy, which, you know, it's an amazing community, especially when, unfortunately, something like this horrific happens.
Yeah.
That's when the community comes together, and that's what we're seeing today.
Yeah, we are. No question about it. Okay, so I just want to recap. Today at 11 o'clock, the service is inside the Real Life Christian Church in Claremont. They're streaming it live. We have it live, of course, on Fox 35, and it is open to the public?
It is.
The chances of getting a seat at this point are slim to none.
I would say yes.
And not only that, you've had shuttles bringing people in, parking at different shopping plazas around the area because the parking lot can't take the amount of people.
Yeah, I spoke to Lynx as I was parking, and they volunteered 4 shuttle buses to get these deputies and officers to and from the church so they're not walking in the heat.
Okay, let's quickly talk about what we have in store at 11 o'clock. We're going to have a brief opening by the chaplain from the Lake County Sheriff's Office. That's standard operating procedure, officer. How many of these have you been to in your career?
Oh, geez.
Too many?
Too many.
One is too many, but...
Too many.
Several, I presume.
No less than 10 over my career I've been at or associated with, yes, sir.
So the chaplain opens it up.
Absolutely.
And then from there, it's a welcoming and opening prayer from the lead pastor here at the church, Justin Miller. Then we have Sheriff Deputy Matt Lehman from the Lake County Sheriff's Office. And then after that, this is a remarkable speaker, Mrs. Brittany Link, the widow of Bradley. What is your take on having her get up and speak?
I think it's wonderful. I mean, keep in mind, this is her husband, right? He's a cop, but it's still a dad and a husband. And I think it's paramount that we hear from her. And she's going to probably echo what we're seeing here with the outpouring of love of the community and fellow officers who's, you know, they've traveled from in-state and out-of-state to come and pay their respects to not only the deputy, but to his family. And we're going to hear that, I'm without a question, from her today when she's speaking.
It's so young. He's 28. I don't know Brittany's age, but I assume she's around the same age. And to lose a husband that young is just devastating, heartbreaking. He does leave behind his parents, Christy and Daniel, as well. So I presume they're going to be in the audience. But they're not speaking because after Brittany Link, we have another sheriff's deputy, or the sheriff himself, Peyton Grinnell. And then at that point, it's a folded flag collection by the U.S. Army, a video tribute, and then there'll be closing remarks. And then they move outside for something pretty unique.
Yeah, the video of that is just tear-jerking.
Yeah.
You know, that's the final call, if you will. And this is the final ride for this deputy, if you will, into celebrating the rest of his life in heaven, we hope. It's just amazing. You're going to see helicopters. I've seen probably 24 or 30 dogs of canine units that are coming. I saw a bloodhound walking behind us. So, you know, it's all hands on deck for this deputy, well-deserved, and, you know, they want to give him the best celebration of life and honor his service, to include the Army.
Yeah, indeed with that.
Amazing.
Speaking of outside, we still have one of our colleagues, Matt Trezza, outside. It's, despite the weather, Matt, beautiful as it is and hot as it is, people are showing up in full suits, dresses, paying their respects, and it's still happening at this moment, isn't it, Matt?
Take a look. I'm trying to get out of frame as fast as possible so that we can see all the different agencies. We've got green in here. We've got blue in here. Green, usually sheriff's offices. Blue, police departments. All different parts of the state. I'm trying to take a look at the patches and badges as they walk by. It looked like a big group from Citrus County Sheriff's Office. Belle Isle Police we saw. I talked with Sheriff Billy Woods from Marion County. He just walked by a couple of minutes ago. Got some words from him. All the different agencies agencies, all the different groups continue to show up here at the Real Life Church in order to pay their respects and tribute to the deputy and his family and the Lake County Sheriff's Office. You can see more still coming in. We've got a bus coming in here with more people. It says in honor and memory on the marquee of the bus of the Lake County Deputy Bradley Link. So just again, more people continuing to come into this space, more vehicles continuing to fill up this parking lot as people continue to pay tribute to Deputy Link and his family.